Welcome back, friends. It's another episode of The Mindful CEO, and I'm your host, Chris Angell, here with your other host, Aaron Hendon. What's up, Aaron?
What's up,
Aaron, my
guys?
friend.
Hi.
Uh, hello.
Hi. Oh, you want me to start?
Yeah, I mean,
Okay,
that'd be
great.
good. You want to start?
Excellent. Okay.
How
No
about you
problem.
start?
Yeah. Uh, we should start because I know Alan. Alan's my guest today, and Alan Lazaros is our guest. I'm going to let him introduce himself. We're just a little scattered because we had a great green room conversation
It was a great green room,
all
yeah.
over the fucking place. So
Yeah.
we got a lot of really cool shit to talk about. But Alan, why don't you ground us for a second and bring us back to reality? Let them know who you are, what you're bringing to the party. Alan's a great business coach, great mindset coach, just a great guy to know. Alan, why don't you take a minute and just introduce yourself and we'll get
Well,
started.
first and foremost, sorry to interrupt you already. I think we'll do a lot of that,
Yes, I'm sure.
which is good. I like conversational agility. I think that's how you get into the goods.
Yeah.
So feel free to interrupt me, guys, if you need to. But because I got a long version, I got a short version. I'll try to give you the short version.
Okay. See how that
First and
goes.
foremost, I'm very grateful to be here. I I think that what you put in your ears, what you put into your mind, what you put into your brain is very much dictating your future in a very large way. It's influencing you a ton. So I don't take it lightly. I won't waste a second of anyone's time. But I started listening to podcasts and self improvement 10 years ago. I'm now 36, even though I look 15.
You
I
do,
used
in
to
fact. Dude.
For sure.
I used to say the joke. I'm hoping to hit puberty at 37, but now I got this mustache going, so
Nice. Yeah.
that
It's
joke
coming in
doesn't land
nice.
any. Yeah,
It's
thank
coming
you,
in
thank
nice.
you. Yeah, it doesn't. That joke doesn't work anymore. Damn. But anyways, so started out pretty tough. Father passed away when I was young. Had a stepfather from age 3 to 14. My real last name is actually McCorkle. 14 years old, stepfather leaves, takes his entire extended family with him. And that was a tough time in my life. Sort of looked into the future. We went from sort of boats and ski trips, 90s, doing very well, dot-com bubble in Massachusetts, and my mom and stepdad did not get along. That's a polite way to put it. And I kind of looked into the future and said, okay, so no dad, no generational wealth, no trust fund, and we're in some trouble if I don't do something about it. So I became this sort of super achiever guy, straight A's through high school, college, got my computer engineering degree, got my master's in business, off to the races, rose in corporate very quickly, became a 1% earner in my early 20s. Then I got in my car accident. That was 10 years ago. I was 26. And that was what sort of flipped the script for me. So I went from sort of externally successful and internally unfulfilled to I'm going to flip the script. I'm going to focus on me, personal growth, personal development, self improvement, and I'm going to hopefully focus on fulfillment. And then success will be a byproduct of that, which kind of worked and kind of didn't. We'll talk about it. But essentially, I went from externally successful and internally unfulfilled to internally fulfilled, happy, healthy, productive fitness model,
Mm.
fitness competitor, fitness coach, love my life, but I went broke. Liquidated all my stocks, started my own company called Alan Lazaros LLC, what you'll never learn in school, but desperately need to know. Because to me, when I found self improvement, that was what was fascinating to me the most and I spoke at my college literally 2 days ago, and the stuff that's being taught in school, I think academics are great. I'm educated. I think it's a good thing, but there's certain things that are just not taught in school, and that's why we podcast. I think underneath that is, listen,
Hmm.
there's a lot that we just didn't understand, and if you don't understand, you're not going to maybe pursue that dream or do that thing or certainly not be successful. So I finally got to a place in my 30s where I was externally successful and internally fulfilled, and I feel like that's where everyone wants to get, and it's a mountain that gets higher as you climb it. So I'm certainly not done, but I was broke for a while there in the beginning.
Wow.
Nice. I appreciate you
It's,
sharing all that because that's real.
yeah.
I mean, that is the kind of look. That's the game, right? I mean, mostly that we were talking earlier about that tension between mindful and CEO, and that hustle culture, the grind, all about um, you know outward financial success, the Lamborghini leaning lifestyle that we always talk about. The Instagram Lamborghini leaners.
Yeah, Lamborghini leaners. I've never heard that before.
Shout out to
Nice.
Ty Lopez.
Yeah. Oh,
That's
yeah,
our
yeah, yeah. Shout out to Ty. Yeah, of
yeah.
course.
Shout out to Ty, right? The Learjet, renters. Um, uh, there's that, and that's the image. That's the go for. That's what people think is going to make them happy. And then there's the other side is, I'm going to go sit on a mountain in Tibet and sell everything and become a monk and achieve enlightenment, but
Mm.
how am I going to feed the kids? And what, that looks like, those look like the options. And anything other than those two things is sort of mediocre. Like,
Yeah.
just, I'm making it, hanging in, so thank God it's Friday and, that kind of bullshit. But there is another fucking possibility of being fulfilled, successful at the same time, like really having it all work. And we're committed that our access to the outward success is in who's do. So for sure, you got to do the work. I mean, you're not, like you said earlier, you're not going to go just sit and meditate and wake up, come out of meditation and look, oh, look, there's money in my bank. That's not what manifesting is. At the same time, who's doing the work matters. Like who you are when you're doing that work. Are you fearful, greedy, scared, tired, exhausted, or are you fulfilled, happy every step of the way and doing the work that makes you more fulfilled, more happy? That's the path, and that's what sort of the tension that we're always interested in talking about.
Did you have, Alan, having left the corporate part and then going into the personal fulfillment side, did you have, once you were starting to experience the personal fulfillment side, did you have any contempt for the corporate hustle of things? Like
For sure.
yeah, did you have any residue of like, oh, stupid culture made me sell out to whatever?
I appreciate the question. In the beginning, for sure. I mean, I overswung that pendulum so hard.
Yeah.
I actually really respect corporate a lot more now because I think there's three sort of trains that we can all sort of jump on. The first one is you do the traditional sort of kindergarten, elementary school, middle school, high school, college, corporate. That's the very traditional path, at least in the US and all over the world too. And I think that I had contempt for that as I became quite the product of that and I was unfulfilled. And then I went and I got a therapist in my 30s. Her name's Carol, and I've been doing that for years now. And I've been sort of rewatching the movie of my life over and over and over again, but from a higher sense of awareness, right? We all can think of a movie as a kid that we saw, and then we see it again. It's like, oh, got it. So that's what I think everyone should be doing with their life. But again, that's me projecting. And what I came to realize is, okay, that road I had contempt for, or resentment for is probably a better word. And then there's the hybrid model. This is the one I recommend, half and half. Like you start your own business, that's great, but also make sure I call it short-term train, long-term train. For those of you on video, I'm kind of using two hands on this. My left hand is the short-term profitable train. That keeps the lights on. And then over here is the long-term train. So the podcast, for example, was a long-term train that didn't make any money, but the short-term train was, luckily I had a big nest egg from corporate.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's the hybrid model that I recommend now for people. And eventually this long-term one, if you do it well enough and long enough, it can replace the income of the other one. But even in my business now, business coaching is the short-term profitable train, one-on-one, trading time for money. And then the brand is much bigger than that.
Yeah.
The third option is the one that we kind of did. Kevin and I, my business partner, we quit. We were both six-figure earners in our mid-20s, and we both quit. Luckily, we had some money. Otherwise, we would have been screwed. And that was, pretty terrible, to be honest. Like I think back then that was, why would you work a job that you don't love and all that stuff? Like, listen, in the practical world, what the economy pays for is not always meaningful work. I have someone I coached before. I don't coach her anymore. But she had said, well, I don't really want to trade my time for money. I'm like, you're 24. Like, what do you mean?
You had this time.
Yeah, what are you talking about? Like, I'm a CEO. Well, she's like, well, you run your own company. It's like, I have 100 clients. Don't get it twisted. I have 100 bosses, right? I mean, but no one really gets that. And so it's not until later on when you have a 17-person team and 2,000 episodes and you're heard in 175 countries. And now we have a larger business. And again, large is relative. For a podcast, we do very well. For a business, we're tiny, right? Amazon makes more in a day than we make all year. But I now understand the value of all three trains. And I think it should be 1, 2, 3, not one jump to 3. because I think most people will fail if they do that.
It's interesting, you made me the thought that emerged out of what you were saying, Alan, was this. I don't know. Do you ever listen to Esther Hicks? You know who Esther Hicks is?
I think she does meditations
Yeah,
and
she's
breath work and stuff.
no, she's a channel. She channels an entity called Abraham.
Oh,
So
okay, gotcha.
we're going
Yeah,
into the woo woo woods. Okay, we're
I
going
think
deeper.
Abraham Hicks. I think
Abraham
I've heard
Hicks.
of.
That's her.
Okay,
That's them.
gotcha.
Abraham
Yeah,
Hicks. Abraham is the entity. Her name is Esther Hicks. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So it's all law of attraction. It's all fucking dynamite stuff. My wife is actually going to be with her tomorrow and Sunday. I'm so excited.
nice.
Yeah. So we came out of the woo woo woods on the show here last year and came out of the woo woo closet.
Yeah,
Came out of the
welcome.
woo-woo closet.
Yeah, welcome.
Nice, good for you.
Yeah,
Welcome,
we're
Alan.
out of the
Welcome.
woo-woo closet.
Yes,
Yeah,
yes.
welcome.
I had my woo woo phase, fellas. I did, and
Yeah.
again, at the end of
Well,
the day,
there's
it's a
and
part of the
this-
spectrum. It's
It
important.
is, and it's a valuable part of the spectrum. But especially because what she says about just that, right? Because she's all about, look, law of attraction, follow your passion, it path of least resistance, do the thing that makes you feel good, and that's so easily misinterpreted as
know.
in I'm not going to fucking change my time for money, and that's not what they're saying. Because I actually heard this, I had this real thing because I'm a real estate agent. That's my trading time for money right now is in educating, advocating, and negotiating for people in the middle of their real estate transactions.
Nice.
And I was like, okay, but I really what I want to do is this kind of stuff and write and I also have got myself certified as a mindfulness and meditation instructor, and I've got courses in that now.
Cool.
But that's not paying the bills. And one of the things I heard her say, which was just sort of like snapped it for me, was if the path of least resistance, you quitting your job and becoming broke is not the path of least resistance. You are not going to feel good when you get up in the next day and you don't have the money to pay for rent. That's not the path of least resistance. The path of least resistance is keep your fucking job. Now, she doesn't talk like this, but this is how I listen.
Yeah.
Keep your fucking day job, right?
Yeah.
And that's least resistance, and do this other stuff here, but that's all part of the same path because you're creating something, and now you're no longer hating your job because look, your job is buying you this food and it's paying your rent, and it's how you approach it. So it just struck me, Alan, that that's exactly what you're saying is, look, there's a path and there's steps, and it's the next step that matters. You don't have to think 4 steps ahead. What's the next step for this woman you no longer coach? The next step is, okay, if that's the future I want, good. So the next step is, oh, maybe I should make this widget to be the best fucking widget possible. Wait this table and have this person be, and then I'm going to handle the thing in front of me with the most integrity and the most possibility. And I'm going to do it with the most joy in my heart because that's the next thing to do.
Yeah.
And I think I think that's what you're pointing to. Yes, that's what you're saying.
Well, I think the path of least resistance thing, and again, there's a lot of the war of art, the art of war, all this stuff, and it gets misinterpreted to your point. And it's also, we're all selling ice cream, but we're all selling a different flavor. So the hustle culture is one flavor of ice cream, and you need to have grit. We know that, but you also need to be aligned with your calling. So I think it's a spectrum. I think of it as like, -5, +5, and it's 10 sort of things. And manifestation is understanding all of them and then deploying them properly. And so this whole path of least resistance thing, I think a lot of people think, oh, well, I shouldn't have to work hard. Well,
Yes.
if your dream is to be in shape, good luck with that.
Right.
And so I think I understand the value of each, and I think we're all swinging sort of a pendulum. So if you were overly hustle culture for a while and that made you miserable, you'll overswing to overly woo-woo, for lack of better phrasing.
Yeah.
And if you're overly woo-woo and you realize eventually that doesn't work either, you'll go back to hustle. And so I think we're all sort of trying to find center, our own unique center.
Yeah.
And my own unique center has a lot of grit, but it also has a calling. And I that's why I like you guys' show, because duality. It's not one or the other. It can't be one or the other. There's a book by Jim Collins. He talks about the genius of the and. I got all Jim Collins books back here. You guys know Jim
Love Jim Collins. Oh
Yeah,
man,
Big fan.
best
big
books,
fan.
business books of all time,
All
hands down.
time.
Yeah, unbelievable. So I actually have the Flywheel right here. I don't
Oh yeah.
sell his products. I just love the Flywheel.
All we do is talk about it. Really big fan.
Yeah,
Get on the
what a
bus,
great
right seat on the bus, everything.
Oh, the best.
Yeah. Big fan.
So the genius of the and. We were talking about earlier. It's yin and yang. I always say make sure your yin is yanging. Emilia and I, my girlfriend and future wife, we live together, and we've been coaching couples for 4 years. And you just notice, okay, so you guys are trying to be each other and or not getting along with each other. And you're supposed to be who you are, like your essence. I always have this rock to point to. I used to think self-improvement was I'm going to identify what I don't like about myself and I'm going to like change it.
Yeah.
I don't think that's what it is anymore. I think it's I'm going to uncover who I actually am, my strengths and my weaknesses. I'm going to acknowledge that every strength comes with a weakness. High self-belief, strength, weakness, arrogance, right? Good luck balancing that. So humility and self-belief have to come together. Self-belief and humility. It's grit and calling. It's loving and strong as fuck.
Right.
Right. And I think that work ethic and intelligence, you can't just have people say, oh, work smart, not hard. No. Hold up. Half the time you don't work smart until after you beat your head against the wall 50 times. So I think that
makes you smart.
it's exactly it.
And
None
you
of us
don't get
innovate
smart.
until we have to. Right. And that's usually under pressure. So yeah, I love it.
The thing, Alan, that you're pointing to about this and right. We were joking about this today. We came up with a new slogan for the show, right? Given it's the mindful CEO is don't just sit there, do something, right? Which is what you're talking about. Work hard, right? Don't just sit there, do something. If you don't work, no results are going to, action is the only thing that produces results. Okay. No one's got any illusions about anything other than what produces results are your actions. And then there's another side, and don't just do something, sit there. Like there's an opportunity for meditation and for mindful thought about what it is you're doing. And so that you can uncover, this is my calling. Without your calling, what are you doing? You're doing stuff, but it's got no fulfillment for you. It's funny. I'm leading a calling workshop on next Thursday for real estate agents, people that want to find their calling. And, because without sitting there and taking the time and, meditating daily and taking the time to just be, who's doing the things you're doing is going to be off purpose. Yeah. I mean, if you don't have a purpose, forget about it, right? You can't be on purpose. I mean, maybe you could be, but you wouldn't know it. And if you're not meditating and chewing yourself up to and getting rid of the noise and the pull and the chaos and centering yourself and grounding yourself, you got no choice. So it really is. It's that and don't just sit there, do something, and don't just do something, sit there. Both those things are required for the fulfillment of what you're speaking to and what we're all speaking to here.
And success too. I think that's the duality between the highest self and the human self. I think that's exactly what we're talking about right now. Is
that would be success.
The highest self will call you and pull you to stuff, and the human self is going to have to get on the fucking Stairmaster. Right. And I think the human self doesn't want to get on the Stairmaster, and that's okay. You have to do it anyway. And
but at the same time, if you're connected to your higher self, right? If you really are connected to your higher self, that resistance to getting on the Stairmasters loosens. I don't know that it disappears.
It definitely doesn't disappear.
It thins,
you know what I'm saying?
But you begin to own the resistance. The resistance is no longer.
Yeah.
I mean, if you can really be if you really are present to all of it, then that you own that resistance. That resistance is part of what comes with the higher self, is the resistance of the human package. And you're not resisting the resistance. You're like, look at that. I don't want to get up. How cute. Let's go.
I think there's an invitation in here somewhere of like, I think there's an invitation in here for getting really honest.
Yeah.
I saw this in myself yesterday. I was on a community call and I was looking at even my own upset about money. My pendulum has swung from hustle to I'm way out in the woo-woo woods and setting up camp and happy to stay there, except for I'd also like some food with my meals. I'd like there to be some, some more money than I used to have. And I could start to see that my contempt for hustle culture, my contempt for people who make lots of money that seem to have less than ideal intentions, can have all the money, and I'm over here suffering. I'll put in air quotes because that's my story about it. But and I just was able yesterday to get really honest about the contempt I have for that. And it shouldn't be that way. And right, all the things that start to come up, and it's like, wow, I really hadn't had it like that. My contempt for Lamborghini leaning, and yet I own a BMW. It's like Lamborghinis are too far, but
Right.
BMWs are okay.
Exactly.
I have a line. Okay, I got standards.
You got standards.
What is the right amount of a foreign luxury car that
Exactly.
doesn't say I'm a douche and I'm totally like wanting to hurt people financially. I mean, it's like
I draw the line at a $75,000 cigar. I think those people
yeah,
are
it's
too
too
there
far.
you go.
Right,
Yeah.
that's too much. You could build a school, sir. Right? What are we doing? Patting your ego with
Exactly.
that.
But you can
$1,000
get
cheesesteak.
yourself on either side of that pendulum in hustle or in the woo woo woods, and you can be still not being honest with yourself on either side.
Agreed.
Good, totally.
Yeah, and I think that's an opportunity here for like if what we're saying in this conversation is the opportunity in the conversation is to get honest, because once you do that, then you can kind of, to your point, Alan, find I think that space where you're in your own lane about who am I, both and the strengths and the weaknesses, but at least I'm being honest about it.
That's the candor piece. I've been floating around. I have my top 3 core values on my desktop background at all times, and I just shifted mine to legacy, potential. Candor was one of them for a while there, and the reason why is because I was trying to practice the courage of having candor with others. I've found coaching so many different people, some people are very honest with others, and some people are very honest with themselves. Very few of us are honest with both. It's been interesting. So
Interesting.
I have a friend of mine growing up who would tell you like it is. He's going to tell you, he's going to give it to you straight, man. But yet he's overweight, drinks like a fish, smokes like a chimney. And he can't be honest with himself about his own inadequacies. And I'm the opposite. I mean, I'll be honest. I mean, I'm hard on myself. My highest self is like, get your fucking ass in that office. Like, grind this out. You got this. And again, I know that's probably sounds shame-based. It's not, I promise. But when it comes to sharing candor with other people, whoa, very hard for me to be truthful because I'm such a social coward. Let me explain. So we all have a certain physique here. If you guys came to me and asked for fitness advice, it's a duality. On one hand, I have compassion and I want to see you guys win. But on the other hand, I have to tell you some hard truths that you don't want to hear. And I call it the want, love, hate framework. Everyone wants a great physique. I love weight training, but I hate dieting. Straight up, hate it. Everything that we want is on the other side of something we hate. And that's back to the resistance conversation we've had. I want more clients. I love one-on-one coaching. I do hate social media. I can't stand it. So we all have to overcome the thing we hate in order to get what we want. And back to the honesty conversation, the candor. I've found that the more honest you are with yourself, the more rare you become statistically, and the harder it is for other people to be around you. I looked up, did some research on this, and we call it the intimidation factors. So we have the top 30 factors of intimidation, and I had my business partner rate me because we were trying to figure out what's the deal. Like, why do people treat me differently than him? Because we both came up from humble beginnings, all this kind of stuff. And he rated me from 0 to 10, and I got a 9.5 on the 30 intimidation factors. And so what he's saying is you trigger everybody. You don't mean to, you trigger everybody's insecurities. Not you guys. You guys are pretty self-confident. But that means that you're interacting with a version of them that's scared to be found out. So, for example, people say, do you think I'm out of shape? It's like, do you think you're in shape? But that's the honesty part. Like, I'm so honest with myself, and my girlfriend's very honest with herself, the most honest I've ever seen. She's in great shape, but she'll be the first to tell you she's not even close to her potential. But when you don't have permission to give them that candor because it's you don't know me like that. So this is my rule. You cannot give a hard truth greater than the relationship you've built. So I just met you guys. So I'd say our relationship's probably a 3 out of 10. I can give you level 2 truth. But if I try to give you level 5 or level 7 out of my desire to help you, it's going to break rapport, right? So that's why you need permission. When you hire me as a coach, now I have permission to be more candid, to be more honest. Want to help you grow, don't want to tell you hard truths. That wasn't working for me. So now I tell my clients, I care about your success first, your fulfillment second, your feelings third. And I give a disclaimer. Like, if you want to work with me, I'm going to be very honest with you. And I'm going to have to call out your blind spots when you think you're great and you're not. Because why are you going to work on something that you think is already fantastic?
Yeah. Right. Yeah. Yeah. Well, I mean, yeah.
Well,
I have
that's
all
something.
kinds of thoughts about that.
Yeah, well, that's I've trained people. It's very that axiom about you can only be as candid with people as the relationship will hold. You didn't say it that way, but that's
No, that's well said. Yeah,
the
that's good.
nature of it. Because that's one of the principles I've trained people in not really sales, but in enrollment conversations for 30 years, and it's always that this the size of the conversation, the background of relatedness is what we've called it, is the foundation upon which, like, I can say things to my brother that I can't say to you.
Yeah.
Because the background of relatedness is such that that's what makes it up, and what makes up the background of relatedness. And this is what you're speaking to, Alan. So this is really interesting for people that are in sales or and as Daniel Pink points out,
Yeah.
everyone's in sales. You're always selling people your ideas. You're selling your kids bedtime. It doesn't matter what you're doing.
100%.
Is how what you say, how what you say is heard by the other, is the thing that makes up the biggest piece of that. Is how what you say is
Hardest part.
heard by them. And mostly we deal with communication like, well, I said it. I don't know why you didn't hear it. I'm sorry you were offended by what I said. All that bullshit. And why we think texting is communication is, I could go off on that for fucking ever if you wanted me to, because you can't be responsible for what they hear. And the only thing that matters is, can you be responsible for what the other person is hearing?
Yeah.
Which is why you do the disclaimers, because you're out to be responsible for what they hear. I'm going to set this up for you now so that I know at least I've said this. And if you don't maintain that, like, you said it, and if they forget it, you're fucked, because you said it, but they didn't land with them in a way at which it's stuck. You're the one who's fucked.
This is the hardest part of my life, quite
It's
frankly.
the hardest part of everyone's life, is
It's
communication.
on one hand, I want to help you reach your potential. On the other hand, I have to be very careful about the level of candor I approach that with.
Yeah.
And you obviously speak to a 7-year-old different than a 15-year-old, different than a 35-year-old, right?
Different than you speak to your girlfriend, different than you speak to your mother,
100%.
different than you speak to your client, different.
Yeah.
And we're all different people with different people. That's not any, you're different with me. Of course I am.
Yeah, of course.
I don't speak to my
But
wife.
most people don't know that. And
Yeah.
they see you in a different context and they go, I mean, I remember when we first started our podcast together, Amelia and I, we got some feedback from our families. They're like, well, that's not really, it's like, no, you don't understand. That's actually more of who we are than what you guys are used to. But we're dialing down so much around you guys because you're very delicate, and they don't identify as delicate, but emotionally there's I always say this, you will only grow to the extent of the level of feedback you can receive.
Yeah.
But if you don't have self-belief, you're not going to take feedback. That's why everyone loves Netflix. There's no personal feedback. You get to watch these people do these things and simulate the emotions and the experiences and the mental stimulation, but you don't have to look at self. I mean, we all know. Looking in the mirror every day is like, oh, okay, all right, shit.
Well, that's why people don't meditate.
Exactly, because
that's the big hang up. That's really the number one thing people have to get over when they meditate, is they're just going to be with themselves. No, thank you. I appreciate the offer, but I'm just going to go over here.
Because what's going to come in is all of the missed opportunities and all of the pain that you haven't felt and all the trauma. I mean, therapy was scary for sure, because I'm going to go back and look at stuff that's really painful. And I'm with you guys on that for sure. And back to the honesty with self thing, I think that is the cornerstone of personal growth. Honesty with self. How honest can you be with yourself? Like, right? You know if you're fucking up fitness. You know it.
Yeah.
We all do. And to your calling, if you're meant for more, your highest self is trying to tell you that. Whether or not you're letting that in is a different story, right? But you're responsible for your own actions. and inactions. And I think that we missed that second one. Like we get it. Like, oh, I did that, my bad. But what about the stuff you didn't do that you know you should have done?
Mm.
Right? I mean, I looked at a fitness photo of me back in my modeling days earlier today, and it was, damn, I mean, it was harder. It was easier in my 20s. It's harder in my 30s. Don't care. I don't care. Like, I could do better, and I know that, right? So I have to step up, and that's personal responsibility.
Mm. Mm.
I would. I always have noticed. I'm just noticing my own reaction. So I'm just want to be responsible for this. Is my reaction, and like we said, this is a really interesting conversation, Alan, because we don't know each other. I mean, we've met a couple of times. This is literally the second time we met. When I hear people say I have to step up, I notice there's a little bit of my heart breaks a little bit, and because I don't know, I suspect you don't mean it this way, but I think people use that as a stick to beat themselves with, versus I get to step up or have the opportunity to step up, or it would be meaningful to me to step up, or it would be such an
That one,
opportunity to step up.
the meaningful one.
Yeah. So
That
whatever,
one,
but
yeah.
like I need to is so fraught with standards and ideals and the work, like you really are. Your friend that smokes like a chimney is fine the way he is. He does not need to stop smoking. He can absolutely live his life that way. Winston Churchill smoked like a chimney. It's not a fucking drank like a fish, smoke like a chimney, fulfilling life, not inherently a problem unless it is for you. So
Right.
you're using candor and Chris is using honesty. My word for that is authenticity, being true to yourself, integrity, like the opportunity. Is it consistent with who you say you are? And if it is, great. And if it's not, then what could you do about it? And you don't have to, but you could. And I think there's room in that world of I don't have to, but I could. There's room for people to play that when we land on I need to, it puts a lid on the self-expression of it. It's now there's an in order to, a should, a place to get, a have to, like it just it occur, and that's all my occurring. That's all. I'm not.
This is the
Assigning that
tension.
to you.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the tension.
Yep.
That's
This is the tension. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't want to lay that on you. Like that's how that is for you.
Yeah.
I'm reflecting.
Well, I didn't unpack all the layers, but I think there's truth to it. There's probably a part of me that is the should and the shame-based sort of get it together, And the other part of it, the much bigger part, I can promise you, is just the calling.
Yeah.
It's my highest self saying, you aspire to greater than this, and you know it, and you've been outside of alignment. And I'm just very honest with myself about that. And I honestly think most people aren't.
I 100%
Of course.
And I think the more honest you can be with your highest self is trying to whisper at you, and those whispers will become a scream. For me, at my car accident, that's when they became a scream.
Yeah, we had a whole episode on the universe is always talking to you. Are you listening? And that's you couldn't be a more woo-woo Esther Abraham Hicks conversation than your higher self is always guiding you, and you're always it's. And your job is to really get the resistance to that conversation out of the way, because it's guiding you, right? And though sometimes it has to run your car into a tree to get your attention, but not always, and if you were sensitive to it and slow down enough to hear it, and we're willing to confront the hard truths as you keep talking about, right? If you're willing to look at those hard truths about yourself without getting reactivated or defensive, and just get oh, there's a part of me right there that, oh, I'm not wild about that. Let's just sit with that for a little bit.
Yeah.
That's the hard part, that sitting, because I think there's this liminal space between the hustle culture and the woo. Like there's a space where, at least at this stage of my life, I've seen both sides. I've been in both spaces, and I'm trying on a daily basis to decide, what do I want? Do I want that? Do I not want that? And so there's that tension every day of I know I could be eating better, right? I know I could be drinking less. Do I want to do that? Do I not want to do that? I could probably be out networking more. I'm not sure I want to do that. Should I do that? And these are the thoughts that I think can happen for people more unconsciously that run in the background. Just I
Yeah, for
happen to
sure.
bring them forward. I've brought them forward in my life, and it's fucking annoying because they just don't shut up. And I'm
They
not
never
committed to
will.
any one thing yet. I'm not committed to hustle culture, and I'm not committed to being a monk in the in the woo-woo woods.
Yeah.
I'm not. I haven't chosen. I
Yeah.
haven't chosen, and that's a really important part
Oh, that's
because
good.
people don't
Choice.
choose. They don't choose,
I
and
love
so
that.
they're stuck in Middle Earth. They're stuck in the in between.
Well, that's good, Chris, because that thing about choice is really potent, and that really speaks to my calling, that people experience their agency,
Right.
that
Yeah.
being at the center of that choice. That in if Tia, that's what I was pointing to, and I didn't have words for it. But why I don't need to work out is because I have choice.
Mm.
I choose to work out, and the
Well,
moment
only
I
you
need
know.
to, what's
Yeah,
that?
exactly. Only you know
That's right.
if
Only
you're,
you know.
and
And
I
if
use
you
supposed to, but not in the way people think of it.
right,
Your highest self is trying to tell you what you're supposed to do. I often say this, I'm sorry to interrupt you.
oh, it's good.
The supposed to is this is my calling.
Yeah,
This is the path. I am supposed to be doing a better job in
yeah.
fitness. And I know that.
That's right. That's right.
Okay.
You're
And I
saying
know
it.
that. Hey,
That's right.
I know that. Okay. Now, other people are like, well, what do you mean? You're in great shape. Listen, you're basing that on your own standards. You're basing that on your own, you're projecting your standards onto me. And I also, in the past, have projected my standards onto other people. And I am not meeting my own standards, AKA, I am out of alignment with my potential. And
Perfect.
I
That's
know
good.
that. And
Yeah.
only my highest self knows that. And so the question becomes for all of us honesty with self, back to your original point, Chris, is are you in alignment with your own potential? And
That's great.
are you fulfilled? I believe fulfillment is the measurement of alignment with the soul's highest calling. I believe that when you are fulfilled, deeply, truly fulfilled, regardless of anyone else or any economy or any culture or anything, I think that is the soul saying, you're on it. You're on the path. Strong work. Highest self. Let's go. Keep it up. Regret, I think, is the soul's recognition, the highest self's recognition of, hey, you got to pivot. You got to pivot. You got to pivot. The problem is a lot of people don't listen to feelings of regret. And I'm not saying to regret everything. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is it's a barometer of fulfillment and regret that helps you stay in alignment with your best self. And all of us are unique. And so we're doing it for our mom or for our dad or for our aunt or for our uncle or for our culture. This is what you're supposed to do. When in reality, your highest self is, and that's the thing too. 10 years ago, I was not listening to the highest self. I was friends, family, it was culture, it was all that, achiever, all this stuff, what I was supposed to do from culture, not what I'm supposed to do from calling. And I have this North Star around my neck to remind me that, like, this is me versus me. And only I know if I'm in alignment with my true potential and my greatest level of contribution and my highest quality of life. And I think that that's what we all ultimately want. Some of us take a lot longer to get there because we are still unconsciously living. And my car accident woke me up, right? It woke me up and got me to start thinking about my thinking and to start understanding my past and how that might have wired me and whether or not I actually ever did choose. Did I choose to be an achiever or was it conditioning or proving my stepdad, whatever, right? So I think and then I found out when I went to therapy, I'll share this with you guys too. I was so afraid to lose my edge.
Mm-hmm.
My edge
Right.
was outwork anyone, blah, blah, blah. I was afraid to lose my ambition. I'm not kidding. I was so scared. I was like, am I going to heal and then lose my work ethic?
Yep.
It got bigger. It got way freaking bigger, like scary bigger. And I was so scared I was going to heal and then like be lazy.
Mm.
That didn't happen at all.
I
So
think that's a real function of being in alignment. That's, when
yeah,
you're in alignment, you find that those things that you were resisting doing, you no longer resist doing because they're consistent with fulfilling what you're up to. So now you're excited about doing those things. And that's
yeah.
what it looks like to be in alignment. I just think that's a perfect example of that. It's great.
I think there's a
Cool.
great place to end here too with
Yeah.
I think the stuff you're talking about, Alan, is kind of points to what you do, Aaron, with mindfulness stuff, like whether it's meditation or you're just being mindful, like in order for you to actually start to have a conversation with your higher self or hear the voice of your higher self compared to the voices of all the others that you try to prove, like it's going to take some space. It's going to take some solitude and some training and reps around how to listen for that, because otherwise, how do you distinguish which voice is which? So,
Right.
Or a car accident.
there you go.
Right?
Yeah,
So
yeah.
those are the
Right.
things,
One.
right? Post-traumatic growth, car accident, death of a pet, death of a loved one. I mean, funerals, those things, they get us contemplating. And how do we do that meditating or whatever it is prior to the trauma? That's the real question. I had a client literally say, Alan, I don't want to manufacture a car accident to have the transformation you've had. I said, I don't want you to.
That's good.
However, the ego death needs to happen. And you can do that through breath work. You can do that through meditation. You can do that through whatever. And I am, the last thing I'll share with you guys, I'm sorry to interrupt you, but the three circles of the ego, I think the outer circle is who you want others to believe you are. The next layer in is who you.
Oh, Alan, did you lose Alan too?
Yeah, that's all right. And this intermission is brought to you by
Brought to you by Mindfulness 101.
by the grateful breath.
Yes,
You can learn more about the upcoming
Oh,
9-week
Alan's
series
not
at
gonna
the.
come back. Oh no, this is terrible.
That's right.
You guys still there?
There you go.
are.
We got you. Yeah, nice.
You froze there
Okay,
for
nice.
about a minute.
Where did I cut out?
You were at the second circle of
The
ego.
second circle, yeah.
Okay, so I'll restart it. But so the three circles of the ego, I think the outer layer is who you want others to believe you are. That's sort of social status, that kind of thing. Then the next one is who you want.
Is this a universal?
It is not going to get to the second level of ego. There's
The
nothing
universe is-
woo-woo happening here. This is just purely coincidental. That's excellent.
That's great. Oh
That
man.
really is funny. Okay, good. All right.
We'll have to send them to Alan's website. If you want to learn about the three circles, go to Alan's website.
I am sorry, fellas. My internet is cutting in and out. I apologize. You
That's
want me to
so
give it one
funny.
more shot?
Start at the second level of ego.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So the second layer is who you want to believe you are, which goes back to the honesty with self conversation we had earlier. And then the inner circle is who you really are. That car accident collapsed the circles for me. And my new sort of focus in life is to try to keep those three circles the same. I know some people who think they're better than they are and they're arrogant, and I've been there too. And I have some people who think they're worse than they are. I love coaching people like that. You're smarter than you think. You're harder working than you think. You're amazing. And so I think that we all have to have these sort of ego deaths, for lack of better phrasing, in order to make progress. And I call it humility, courage, and vulnerability. Those three things, the triad of transformation. You guys know how fire can't be made without oxygen, heat, and fuel? So oxygen, heat, and fuel are the three things for fire. I don't think transformation can happen without humility, courage, and vulnerability. And for me, I didn't have enough humility, courage, and vulnerability prior to my car accident to actually transform into the best version of myself. And so now I'm constantly trying to say, where am I arrogant? Okay, where am I not being honest? Where am I not courageous? Where am I not vulnerable? Where am I not sharing something I'm scared of? Or where am I avoiding something I'm afraid of? And I think that that's sort of the transformation journey we're all on. But yeah, hopefully that's of value.
That's awesome.
That's great. Alan, tell people where they can get a hold of you if they're interested in talking to you about your work.
Yeah, thank you guys so much again. Gratitude. I know the internet cut out a couple times here, so
right.
you guys have your work cut out for you on the editing side.
We don't edit, Alan. It's one
edit.
takes.
Don't worry
It's
about
one
it.
takes, baby.
One take, baby. All right, so
Yeah,
well, I
that's how we do it.
apologize, everyone, just sitting there watching me frozen. Hopefully, it was at a good angle. I'm kidding. So you can, if you're humble and courageous, and you have a sincere interest to reach your potential, you're gonna love NLU. You're gonna love Kev. You're gonna love what we do. So you can Google my name, nextleveluniversity.com. Nextleveluniverse.com. Next Level University is the podcast. And yeah, you can DM me on Instagram, Facebook, and LinkedIn. Those are kind of the only three that I use at this point. But thank you guys so much for having me. And if anyone is intrigued by any of this and you just want to learn more, dip your toe in. Next Level You, pun intended, Next Level University. It's the next level version of you, not the next level version of me, not the next level version of Aaron or Chris. the next level version of you personally, your own unique journey. And it's a place where you can learn how to reach your own next level. Yeah.
Fabulous.
good.
Alan,
Yeah,
thank you so much for being here. Appreciate it. Chris, we got Business Church.
No, well, I mean, yeah, obviously, guys, if you want to learn more about Business Church, you can go to businesschurch.co. But moreover, Aaron, I think let's just put all our eggs in the basket called "Living a Grateful Life in a Fucked Up World." Those 9-week programs are.
We won't have another cohort till the end of May, so I'm not really promoting anything about that right now because we don't have another. We're in the middle of 2 cohorts. But if you want to get on the waiting list for the next cohort of 9 weeks mindfulness training, how to live a grateful life in a fucked up world.
Yep.
Oh,
Go to thegratefulbreath.com. Thegratefulbreath.com. You can. I got to get the website updated for a waiting list, but nonetheless, that's where you would go.
Yeah. Perfect. Love it. Thanks everybody for being here. Thank you, Alan. Those of you listening, if you want to like and subscribe, we'd love that. That'd be fantastic. Thank you in advance for your liking and subscribing. And until next time, we'll catch y'all later. See ya.